So my name is Patrick Kaiser. I'm the founder of and musical director of the Groove Now Blues Weeks Basel Festival. And you are listening to Talking Blues. When you hear me talking, you might recognize there is a little Swiss accent in my either English or American English. Maybe for the time being we rather speak British English than American English.
Canadian English.
Canadian English, sorry. So, no, seriously, I was a marketeer all my life. And I was traveling around the world. I was not in Canada, to be honest, but I've seen a lot of fantastic musicians around the world. And since I'm a little boy, I'm deeply into music. I grew up with the Stones, the Beatles, Zeppelin, all these great bands. I'm a great jazz fan. I'm still following the scene in New York City, and I'm heavily interested in jazz. I also listen to classical music, but in Basel, in my hometown, there's a very rich city. Why? Because we have the headquarters of Novartis, we have the headquarters of Hoffmann La Roche, so those two big life science, you might call them pharmaceutical giants. And we have a lot of very rich people here. And so this means culture is very important in this town. But I was never happy that I had to go to any other place than Basel to see good blues musicians. And maybe why blues? Blues on record is okay. Blues live is most of the time fantastic. And when I became 50, this was 15 years ago, when I became 50, I said to myself, I have to do something meaningful in life. I'm coming out of a political family, so I know a lot of people here in this town. I was working in big multinational companies, so I have other relations due to that fact. I have very good friends that also are senior business leaders. So why I'm saying that? Not because I'm so proud about. I have the connections, or we have the connections, and being a marketeer, I somehow thought I might be able to conceptually start this. And when I started this in 2010, there were some...
Actually, before you go on, can I just ask you,
of course.
How did you get music before this? What did you have to do in order to consume blues music living in Basel?
Well, nowadays you do not have to go to the concerts only. So again, I'm so deep into the music, and I like to do compromises, but not when it comes to music. So I was already, you can even call it stubborn, I was concentrating on the ones that I really perceive to be the best. But of course, being a music fan, you can listen, you can read, you can see, not in Basel, but around the world, and you can inform yourself by just listening. And that's like with good wine. At a certain moment in time, you should know what is good wine and what is bad wine. So this was the idea, to only concentrate on the best. And the second point was we always knew we can never ever finance that with ticket sales. Our concerts are by 90% financed by sponsors, donators, and by the state. 90%. So the good thing is, and otherwise I would not do it, I don't have to book Bonamassa, Walter Trout, and all these guys. I'm never talking about the person, I'm talking about the outcome, the music. For me this is total boring music. I could never ever listen to a Bonamassa record, not even half an hour. So I said to myself, we concentrate on the ones that we really think are the best. And instead of doing every time somebody else, I prefer to work with the guys that I know has somehow become like family, and to do different concepts. So for example, to hire the Greaseland All-Stars, and we do several concepts, and I work with Kid Anderson, I talk to him, we discuss, we are friends. Why don't we do a Johnny Guitar Watson tribute, for example? And then we do it, and we select the right people. So this was the number two condition. Number three condition was we have to create an event, because the sponsors, the people that give money, they expect something. So they expect not just good music, but you have to offer them, and we're not talking about champagne and all the luxury goods or food. a nice meal, so that they feel welcomed and they get something for the money. So these were the three topics that were crucial or are crucial to maintain Groove Now.
So when you started the idea of Groove Now and this music festival, were those three key elements there from the very beginning?
Yes. Otherwise it would never have flown.
Okay, so how long did it take for you to realize that that was the correct formula and that you had something that's successful on your hands? Was it immediate?
Well, this is not religion what I'm saying now. I'm a believer. So when I think something could be done, then I envisage this target and I move forward until I see there is no point of return, either to go back or to move forward. No, I believed in the concept also. Why? Because I was talking this concept over with other people that are commercially running music events, professional promoter. Professional means they make a living out of it. And I have some good friends in Switzerland, and I was talking to them, and everybody told me, Patrick, if you're gonna get the funds, if you achieve to make it happen financially, then it's gonna fly. And I believed in it, and as always, it takes, if you get one big sponsor, then the others follow. And of course, we visited a lot of companies, talked to the respective people, and all of a sudden I got a phone call by a local bank, and they asked me, Patrick, is the main sponsor still available? Of course, I told them, well, we are in discussions with so many others. This was, of course, not true because they were the only ones asking. But they signed to be main sponsor, and then it went very fast. And it took maybe, 6 to 9 months to make everything happen, to have the right location, to book the musicians, to organize the communication, the marketing, all the logistics, etc., etc., etc. And what also is very helpful for us, besides the sponsors, the donators, we have a lot of good friends, a graphic designer that works almost for free, the booking department working almost for free. We have a lot of friends in restaurants where we can eat for free with the musicians. So we have a lot of people that are supporting the festival Groove Now with their services.
Can you tell me how your audience, who they are? Like, can you give me a sense of who the Groove Now audience is?
The idea always was to keep it small, like in an intimate setting, because I remember, and unfortunately he had just passed away, I saw Joe Louis Walker about, when was it, 20 or 25 years ago. There was a big festival in Bellinzona. This is in the south of Switzerland. And after the festival, in a tiny little place, a little bit further away from the festival, the musicians dropped by and they were playing or jamming somehow until 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I was sitting at a table like the two of us do now, and Joe Louis was standing 2 meters from me, in a distance of 2 meters. So I said to myself, this is it. If you have the musicians to be so close, you see even the teardrops in their faces, and you see everything. That's the best form to present blues or black music. And therefore also the concept implies the fact we want to remain small. Small means we have some 200 people, and we only go to places. We change to the museum. We might talk about it later on because it's an important topic. About 200 people, and this also provides a certain exclusivity. So if only 200 people can attend, of course that's a different topic. Of course, with blues concert, I'm not talking about Clapton and Bonamassa. They can attend an audience of 10,000, but with the music that, you know what I'm talking about, these musicians that we talk about, they attend maybe a couple of hundred people, but not many more. So to remain exclusive and small, I think this is a winning formula.
So I'm curious, as I know of your festival, I know that there's 2 weeks right now that's going on.
Three.
Okay, it's 3 weeks. So, but we're currently in week 1 or week 2?
We are in week 2 now, yes.
Week 2, okay. So, and then there's another week coming up 2 weeks from now.
Exactly.
Okay. So are the 200 people pretty well the same people?
No.
Okay,
No,
so
no.
it's different people.
We have sponsors, donators. They receive reserved tickets, reserved seating, and of course the concerts are all public. So we have pre-sales, we have music fans, blues fans, soul fans coming to our show, and it's about 50-50. So out of the 200, maybe even a little bit more ticket sales to the music fans. And when I say the music fans, I do not it's not meant that I exclude the guests or the sponsors and donators, because they are also very active, even freaking out sometimes at our gigs. So let's say it's maybe, I don't know, it's 3/5 are people buying tickets and 2/5 are coming from sponsors, donators. Now you ask me, who are you visitors? We have young people, but of course you know that if our sons and daughters like this music, it's because of us. Mm-hmm. If you grow up with hip hop and house and all these styles that I don't even know, then you might not go to a blues concert. Why? Because blues is still, for many people, perceived to be boring. 1-4-5, no, the typical blues scheme. What is absolutely not true. So we have young people coming to the show, and we do a lot to actively manage music school, etc., so that they get the possibility to come to the shows, to recognize blues and soul as something, highly emotional and of course in a high quality. But I would say the people are between maybe 40 to 65. I guess like everywhere in this world where people go to blues or soul concerts. What I really wanted to do, and we achieved that now, we are in a museum of ancient history. This is a very famous museum of ancient history. Why are we in this museum? Because for me, I get a little bit upset. Why? Because there are so many, in every genre there are many bad bands, but you see blues bands playing everywhere and they can hardly play. And so they play for free somewhere. And so people think, blues, I can go to this other place where it's for free. And with Groove Now, they might not even know who Rick Estrie and all these guys are that I'm booking. I have to pay 75 Swiss, that's about $80 or even 85 now. They do not understand that. And so I wanted to uplift the music of blues, to demonstrate, or to show it, to present it, not demonstrate, to present it in a museum in a world-class museum. So it's like an image transfer from the museum to the music and from the music to the museum. So it's a win-win situation, and this is the reason why, as of this year, we are in this museum.
Where else have you been? So before you got to this museum, where else have you presented this?
We started in a small brewery, very nice place, with about a capacity of 150 people. In such places, the owners or the people running such places most of the time are not very professional. So if you have high expectations, if you do not accept a low quality, then it's always difficult to work with them. Further on, the numbers of visitors was growing, so it was becoming too small. Then we went to a bigger hall, about of 800 people. Basel does not have too many places for non-classical music. And so we went to a bigger place, but we did not like it so much. There is no soul, it was already a little bit too big. And then finally, because the owners changed their mind, there is a famous music club in Basel called the Atlantis. Of course, outside on your continent, nobody knows it. But there was a famous music club that was very much known, even outside Switzerland, let's say in France or in Germany or in other places, where all the legends, Rory Gallagher, Stevie Ray, all the others played there. But this club has changed destiny over time. Once it was a restaurant, then it was a disco, then it changed again. And so we were able to go there for a couple of years. The rest, the place is becoming very old. So if it's raining cats and dogs, we ask ourselves, do we now have to cancel the concert because the water is pouring down the walls inside? So you cannot do that, right? And this was the reason, and collaboration also was somehow a little becoming difficult because they are not professionals. They do not understand really what sponsors and other people request. And this was the reason why we are going now in this, or where we have been going, or where we going to, where we are in this museum, and we stay here. The feedback is fantastic. I've heard one person came to me, "Oh, Patrick, I hate this place, it's terrible." But all the others are really, really, I mean, they are totally excited, and the feedback is fantastic.
How do you measure success?
Well, I ask the people, no, I think I would start earlier. If you're gonna come to the show, right? Mm-hmm. So, Swiss people are, and all the musicians would confirm that to you, people are listening. If I go to the States, and I have been to many places in the States, you see people at a concert, they watch NHL, whatever kind of sports, they watch TV. They sit at a bar, watch TV, and there's a fantastic band, maybe, or fantastic musicians playing at the same time. People are listening here in Switzerland, but the crowd is really, I mean, tonight is Curtis Salgado. I guess, and he had a good sleep, and so he will not be tired on stage. It's a fantastic band, of course. We have horns, you have 2 guitars, I mean, fantastic. So the audience will react instantly, you're going to see it. So the people are really, you see it in their face, they're happy, they're dancing. After the show, they come to me, they say, "Thank you that you do that." And I say, yes, well, I mean, somebody has to do it, otherwise it does not happen. By the way, we are a non-profit organization, so the money goes all to the artist and, of course, the marketing. And we pay some taxes. And so measuring success is see the eyes of the people, how grateful they are, how happy they are, how they are smiling, and if then you get even good response in the media, that's also okay. If you get good responses via social media, I mean, there everybody can express whatever she wants. But this is how I measure success, and the sponsors remain on board, the donators remain on board, and also I guess if you would speak to the musicians, and not because they are becoming millionaires here, of course they are not becoming millionaires. They all want to play here, and the feedback I get from them is fantastic because we treat them as artists. They are sleeping in good hotels, they're getting good food. We always have fun. We talk about music. They know that I know a little bit about music. That I mean, it's always a nice atmosphere. And again, I have so many musicians writing, "I would like to play groove now," but unfortunately, only some of them can play groove now.
Okay, so the other thing I think I know about this festival is that you book way ahead in advance. Yeah. So, if I'm not mistaken, you already have next year's.
I'm planning 28. Okay. Everything else is already.
All right, so you've already posted what's happening in 2026.
Yes.
Obviously, you've already done 2027 and planning 2028. Why is that, and what's the thinking behind that?
I never like to book touring bands. And this is not pejorative, but I want to book the ones that are really are totally convinced that it's going to be good. Mm-hmm. The ones that I love. Again, I'm very intolerant when it comes to music.
Wait, let's talk about that. Where does that come from? Not the intolerance, but the love of music and the understanding of good music.
I don't know, to be honest. I always ask. I ask myself this question again because I grew up in a political family. I mean, I had fantastic parents. I'm only a child, but my parents. I mean, they went to see Verdi. That's okay. I also go to see Verdi, and maybe they. But if I would have asked them who was Tennessee Williams, they might not have known that. So culture was not. I mean, culture. I'm talking about art, literature, music, or even film or theater. They were not. It was not so much present in our house. I don't know why this always fascinated me, and I was always. I mean, I'm listening also to mainstream. There are fantastic mainstream artists, but I mostly preferred the ones that are not selling hundreds of thousands or millions of records. So the ones really that there was depth or some complexity, etc., etc., etc. But I do not know why I'm fascinated. I mean, why I like Tom Waits, or why I like Bob Dylan, or why I like Curtis Salgado, why I do not like whom, I don't even know. I'm not listening to the mainstream stuff. Right. I'm not saying that is bad, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Do you tell me when you first connected with who? Like, at an early age, you obviously connected with soul or blues music. Who was that you connected with?
I mean, again, I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, so this area or this period for me is still one of the very best ever. So again, I mentioned the groups before, the rock groups, but then I was listening, I was diving into Miles, Coltrane, Monk, Mingus, Ellington, all these guys in the jazz world, Sonny Rollins, Sanders, all these guys. And then I also was listening to, I think you call it art rock or progressive rock. Yes, Genesis, Pink Floyd, all these, Gentle Giant, all these guys. And in the black music, from Aretha to Aretha Franklin, Bobby Womack, all the black soul singers, Otis Redding, and all these guys, and early Buddy Guy. I do not like the Buddy Guy of nowadays. It's too distant. Doesn't matter. So all the old guys in blues, going back to the Mississippi Delta, and then discovering the longer the more the ones that I'm booking now or since 15 years. And if you spend time in something that you really like, where you're passionate about, then sometimes it doesn't matter where you go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, deadly tired, and you have to get up at 7, because it's beneficial. You learn something, or you discovered something, or you sharpened your ears, your mind, whatever. This is how it works. Maybe a little bit abstract, but right. It's like it is.
Okay, so before I interrupted, you were explaining why you book so far in advance.
Because as I mentioned, if I book a band, the band will always perform their own material, but I like to add other musicians that know each other, that fit perfectly to create other projects. So an example is now with the Greaseland All-Stars. Again, Kit and myself, we are friends since quite some time. So we talk about music. We have more or less the same taste. So for example, I tell them, Kit, shall we do, he's producing, for example, Duna Greenleaf. So shall we do Duna? I would like to do it. And he says, hey, Patrick, fine, let's do it. She's great. And then he comes up and tells me, I did Tia Carroll. I only knew her by the name. I listened to the CD, and maybe this seems to be arrogant. I'm not arrogant, but I hear it instantly whether it's good or bad. I think, at least I think so. Maybe I'm totally mistaken, but me myself, I think so. So I say, hey, and if Kit tells me that, I know it's great. So we do Tia Carroll, and then in addition to that, I tell him I like to do tribute shows, and I do this since some years. Why? Because many people, they do not know the history. I'm talking not about the artist, I'm talking about the audience. Some of them do not know the history of blues. Mm-hmm. So for example, I approached Kit. Kit, I would like to do a Johnny Guitar Watson tribute. And of course, I know that every blues musician loves Johnny Guitar Watson. And so we do a tribute show with Johnny Guitar Watson. And to answer your questions, there we need the respective musicians to make it happen. You cannot just, you know that, but you cannot just make a Johnny Guitar Watson tribute with any musician. So I like to have the ones that I really like and that they fit, musicians that fit best for these conceptual concerts. This is the reason why I booked them 2 or 3 years in ahead. And maybe last but not least, I do not think there are 50 fantastic blues bands. I'm not of this opinion. I think there may be, I don't know, I do not, maybe should not even mention a number, but there are not endless good blues musicians. And so I want the ones that I think are the best. Maybe another good example is the week after next one, I'm a fan of Chris O'Leary. And I booked Chris O'Leary when I heard his CD, more than 10 years ago, I know instantly this guy is great. And he has proven to be great. So I'm telling, I talk to the guys during the year, and we talk about music, and then I tell him, oh, I just listened to, I was a big James Harmon fan, or I'm still a big James Harmon fan. I just listened to James Harmon. Oh, Patrick, you know, this is one of my influences. And so I tell him, oh, Chris, but then we could do a James Harmon tribute. And then I ask myself, who would be the right guys? It cannot be only his band. So Kid Ramos, I admire Kid Ramos, his guitar playing, obviously. Then we have a friend, and I like him as a musician as well, Johnny Müller. And so I book these guys. I approach them, and they know me, and they tell me, "Oh, it's great." And sometimes this also happens. A musician tells me, "Oh, Patrick, you know, but next to Kid Ramos, and he's a very famous musician, without mentioning his name." You know, he's such a strong person, Kid Ramos, and I should be the other guitar player next to Kid Ramos. I'm a little bit anxious. This also happens. Or somebody tells me, or even Kid Anson tells me, Patrick, I do not feel like doing this project. So this is the creation phase, and then I have to book these guys much in advance because otherwise they might be busy.
So the other thing that people might not realize is that you have this concept. I presume Kid Ramos and Johnny Mola know each other.
Of course.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they've played this before. So the rehearsal time is very minimal.
Well, Kid has been part of the James Harmon band, so he knows the material.
Right.
Johnny Müller has also played with James Harmon occasionally, but they all know the material. Chris O'Leary is a big fan of James Harmon, and the funny thing is, I think they know that I again have a little idea about music. They even ask me, Patrick, what songs should we play? So Chris O'Leary tells me, Patrick, I know to play this, and this song. And I say, hey, but let's play also Little Darling, and the one or the other song. For them, they are so good, they can learn the material. The ones that have not played this material, they can learn it. And maybe if you ask such a question, maybe also have in mind that in general terms, people that are used to play the same music, it's better. This is not all, and many times this is really true. So people that are used to play the music, let's say of Chris O'Leary or of the T-Birds, whomever it might be, of course, it's better if they have played the music 100 times already instead of just for the first time. Nevertheless, I've never made bad experiences because, again, they are rehearsing at home. I mean, I drive the process forward, so I make sure that everybody has the same information, that the horns know what's going to be played, that the horn can be prepared, that they get the music so they can really professionally prepare. And then we do 3-4 hour rehearsals before the show, and again, until now, it has always ended up to be fantastic.
Tell me what has been the greatest challenge throughout the history of this? Because it's not an easy thing, right?
Yeah, but it's a very easy answer. To get the funds. That's the most, but maybe everybody's going to tell you that. To get the funds is the most challenging topic. I mean, I like what I'm doing, and again, I'm not paid for that. I do it voluntarily. Sometimes it's a little bit frustrating because you have to talk to so many people. You have to make sure that the sponsors renew the contract. Then there are changes in these companies. No, there's a new marketing guy, and of course, if somebody new is in charge, she wants to do something totally different than their predecessor. So it's an easy answer to get the respective fundings.
Okay, I'm curious as to how COVID might have affected your festival.
When COVID took place, we cancelled. There was one show out of, I guess, 12, Albert Castilla. We did Albert, and then we said it's going to be badder and even worse. So we cancelled the rest of the festival, and this was a very wise decision because then about 2 weeks later, everything was, it was forbidden to attend more than 10 people. So COVID affected us. Everybody, all the companies in Switzerland, also our association, received some money from the state to compensate. we lost a little bit of money, but not too much. Then after COVID, it was somehow difficult. Well, not difficult, but it was challenging to bring the people back. I'm talking about the visitors of the festival, to bring the people back. The first year was not so good, but since then, it's almost as, no, it's like before.
Okay. Tell me about your personal highlights.
Oof, how many hours do you want to transmit the podcast?
Let's start with like when you first started this festival. At what point did you think, oh my God, this is such a great idea. I'm so happy I did this.
Well, everybody tells me I can be proud about, and so if everybody tells me that, I'm proud about. If you would ask me what are the highlights, there were so many. If you would ask me how many times were you unhappy with this, then I would say maybe, I think we have done some 160 or 80 concerts so far.
Wow.
Maybe, I was not so happy maybe with 3. They were still good, but I was not so happy about afterwards.
Without getting too specific.
Yes, please.
What would have been about that you weren't very happy with?
You know, sometimes I even do concerts a little bit against my gut feeling. Well, maybe not against my gut feeling, but I'm not 100% convinced. And sometimes I'm saying to myself, it cannot always be Patrick who decides what is good and what is bad. You also have to comply a little bit to the audience. And so I said, okay, this guy does a little bit of a show, but it's okay. I mean, the music is okay. I know the players, or some of them, it's okay, but it's not great. And so then I do it, or I did it. I'm not doing that anymore. I did it, and after maybe not 10 minutes, but after an hour or so, I said to myself, why did I do that? This does not mean that people did not like it, because, and again, I do not mean it again, not pejorative, but many people are not so much into the music, so it's very difficult for them to make a judgment call whether this is really great or good or excellent or bad or however you want to classify that. Nowadays, as I mentioned before, I'm very intolerant, I'm very stubborn. I really do not do anything that I'm not 100% convinced about.
In the band that you are featuring this year or this week, Kid Anderson's the musical director, I presume, and he comes from Norway. Can I ask you, in terms of, is there a difference between American musicians and European musicians?
Sorry, this is very thin ice for me.
But Kid is playing, and Kid is from Norway.
Kid is more American than most of the Americans. Well, in Switzerland we are used to talk straight. I book 100. Well, do you perceive Matt Schofield to be American or English? Maybe also American nowadays. I book 100% American musicians. Why? It's the same if, would you book a Japanese to play Alphorn? Maybe not. You might book a Swiss or a German or an Austrian guy. I'm totally convinced that the real good ones are really the American musicians. Not because they're Americans, because their competition is high. There, if you do not perform, you have 10 people standing behind you that step in. And you have very good bands in the US. So they all have to demonstrate that they keep on performing. And the fantastic thing with American musicians, besides their artistry and they know how to groove, they know how to play a shuffle, etc., etc. When you ask, of course, let's even say a Swiss blues musician, they also know what a shuffle is, but maybe it doesn't sound like a shuffle. And the Americans, and I have an enormous respect, they are always performing. I mean, they are highly motivated. Of course, they like to come here. They have fun, etc., etc. They are treated very, very, very respectfully and very, very well. But they always perform. Whereas sometimes, and I also hear a lot of jazz music, Swiss musicians or other musicians in Europe, they have been blowing the horn 2 years and they think they are the next Coltrane. I know that they will hate me if I say that, but that's my personal opinion. And this is the reason why I book exclusively American musicians, because I think they are much better than anybody else.
I wonder, do you get any?
It can also be a Canadian one. I would also have no restrictions to get a Canadian one, because there's Sue Foley. Mm-hmm. Sue Foley is one of the, I mean, maybe she's more American than Canadian, I don't know, but no. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yes. Is there any blowback of that attitude from musicians around here?
Yes. I try not to explain them my thoughts when I tell them, sorry, you cannot play here. But I get, for example, a lot of emails by local bands, but also European bands, that's just really not the quality that we present. And then I tell them, hey, please check what we are doing. We really concentrate on the great ones. And they then write back, oh, they think I'm at the same level. I mean, I'm as good as Rick Estrin is. I'm as good as Kid Anderson is. And then I think, hey, I mean, maybe you should really first listen and be a little bit more respectful. And then they sometimes write me very nasty mails that I should support them, that I only support American music, and I should, as a European, I have to live with that, and I can easily live with that.
How has things changed for you and for this festival since 2010?
Again, COVID was hitting us, but everybody, everywhere in the world, was hitting us hard.
But I wonder more in terms of philosophy or musical direction, or is there any change since?
Well, of course, there was a big learning phase for me as well, and a developing phase as well. I think what has changed is I like to do more exclusive projects. So, for example, as we have been doing T-Bone project, or now, as I mentioned, James Harmon project, things that are not automatically to be heard everywhere. And this has changed, but this is also a great aspect for me, because I mean, it makes me happy, maybe even proud, that musicians believe what I'm saying. So they know if we talk music, if we talk conceptually about projects, they accept me as we are on the same level, on the same page. And this has changed a little bit the characteristics of Groove now, so you can see things that you do not see anywhere else. Then what has been a learning curve, I'm a marketeer, but this was a learning curve also, how to approach people. I mean, you have so many possibilities, so many channels, all the digital channels, online, offline. There are so many possibilities. So to find out how can you really reach the people, and musical-wise, maybe we even concentrate on maybe I even concentrate on less musicians than before, because I know what I expect, and it gives me a hard time sometimes. I mean, Kit is here, Kit and the gang is here for 2 weeks now, and I will miss them already the day after they left. Mm-hmm. And I very much look forward if they come back in 2 to 3 years. We keep contact until then, but this is more or less how it changed, beside everything else what I have been telling before.
So, if I was to ask you about your future goals, I mean, you obviously have a program that works. You've always planned years ahead, but are there goals that you're trying to reach many years to come?
Yes, but it's not about the music per se. It's rather, I believe. I mean, we are now and you're going to see it. We're now in a museum, in a very well-known, high-class museum, and as mentioned before, we try to reach additional audiences. And I think you do not find so many places, maybe even people tell me, not even, or music tell me, they have never seen such a thing in the world. So maybe we're going to reach additional audiences to become financially a little bit more, we are stable. We are all business professionals, we are stable, but to have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to financials. Again, not to be obliged to run after money every year. And this is format now that I think this is so good, so exclusive, that our goal is to find new sponsors, high-class sponsors. I mean, you see a Bentley behind us, or 2 Bentleys behind us, that really famous brands buy in and will support it as main or even presenting sponsor, or at least as sponsors, so to be a little bit relieved from the money chasing.
You said you were also a jazz fan. Why did you not include jazz as part of the program? I mean, I don't know if in Basel...
No. Maybe not. Maybe the guy that runs it is not listening to your podcast, so I can be straightforward. Yes, we have a jazz club. That's not so bad. A lot of local people, so there are some great guys that are coming from the US as well. There is a jazz festival going on since, I think, 30 years or so.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit boring. It has become a little bit boring. So I would like to do that, but Basel is a little bit special. I might give you an example. There's a blues festival taking place in Basel since many years. I never go there. When we started Groove Now, they complained everywhere. They approached the media, telling them, why is there another blues concert, blues festival taking place in Basel? We are already here. We do not need competition, blah, blah, blah. So there's this attitude of jealousy, or I don't even know. I mean, if you go to New York, or maybe in Toronto, you have 5 or 10 great jazz clubs or blues clubs, for sure. So the same happens in New York. Nobody's complaining. The Village Vanguard is not complaining. Smokes is not needed and something like that. So Basel is a little bit special in this context. So it's better not to touch jazz as well. And in addition to that, I work about 800 to 1,000 hours a year, free of charge. I have a family. I have a dog. I have other interests. So the day has only 24 hours, and I cannot work more.
Can I ask you what the other interests might be?
I'm interested in, I'm deeply into modern art, literature, film, theater. I'm reading, and walking my dog is also taking some hours every day. So food, good wines, these are the nice things in life.
It's impressive what you've done, and the fact that you've been any festival to run many years as yours has, and all the ups and downs involved in it. What do you get out of it personally?
Personally? Mm-hmm. Well, friendship, because these are the guys that I appreciate most. So these are my, let's call them heroes, or however you call it. I'm a fan of them. So to get them to know in person, to become friends, with some more, with some less, of course. It depends on the personalities, but this is a vice versa thing. So to see these guys performing on stage, I sometimes say they are performing for me, because I book them, I organize everything. Of course, there's audience, but to have this sensation that I can book the ones that I like, that I can create projects with them, that they respect me as a musical partner, I don't even call that, and to see them performing, to give their best, and to see smiling faces, people jumping, dancing. This is fantastic.
Well done. Thank you so much for doing this. It's
my,
a real pleasure.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you having me here.
Well, of course, it was a pleasure. I like to talk.
Thank you.